1980 Mercedes 300 CD, 126,000 miles, but it looks more like it has 26,000 miles on it. This thing, original paint, no paint work has been done to it. It's in pristine condition. And as we can see here, he told me it works, but it's coming out just a little cool. Well, when I went to test it, I believe he was just feeling air going over his hand, because electrically it doesn't come on. It had 80 psi of pressure by the gauges. I went to test it. I put on the fitting for testing because he wanted to convert it over to 134, but when I used my analyzer, the gas is contaminated. It's a mix of R12 and 134, so I have a one tank and a refrigerant recovery just specified for contaminated refrigerant recovery and disposable. But here's the thing that lets you know right away somebody grossly overcharged oil in the system before. As soon as I went to hook on, this is the low side, and this line is raised and up high. Usually there's no oil, it's slanted down, so when the system goes off, the oil slants away. But when I hooked up to this system and I started screwing, and you know how you get the normal little leakage when you first start to screw, this thing just burst open with a big foamy gob of oil that was just, kind of shooting out of here, and it foamed up like whipped cream. When you see this on a system where you're on the low side and you're at one of the highest lines, the compressor is located down there, all the lines are low, but yet up here you get tons of oil coming out, you know somebody over oiled this system and possibly replaced the compressor. So I came back to this old original Mercedes, and yes, that is a replacement compressor down there. That's a later year version compressor. So most likely they do what all the guys do. Open the part, open the box, replace the part, turn it on, it works, collect money, and out the door it goes. They did not do an oil balance. So this thing has an extra 10 ounces of oil in it, most likely. These compressors came factory with 10 ounces in them. These systems had 10 ounces of oil in them. Then after screwing on and putting my fitting on here, if you look down inside, you can see the oil. They have dye in it. It's just filled with oil. When I disconnected here, just drops of oil just came pouring out of this fitting. So this is one of those cases, even after I do the AC system, it's not going to cool very well, because the evaporator will have a couple ounces of extra oil in it, displacing the refrigerant. And oil is not a great conductor of heat as refrigerant, so it acts like an insulator. Think of the blubber on a whale, protecting them from the ocean's cold. Well, when you over oil a system and it pounds the compressor, that's another thing it does. So I already know what's wrong with this one. I'll do a recovery. I'll put it under deep vacuum. I know they're not going to go for removing the compressor, balancing out the oil. Let's change the receiver dryer. It's too bad when technicians don't know what they're doing and they get to such a nice pristine car and they do it wrong the first time. Not only does the customer have to pay for the problem, but future technicians who might be not so keen on air conditioning start doing false diagnostics, because you have an extra 10 ounces of oil in there. Customers complaining on cooling. How many parts and how many procedures and diagnostic do you think are going to be performed on a vehicle because of a situation like this, without them knowing that it's over oiled? So just another classic example of individuals who are touching air conditioning who should have never touched it in the first place. Parts monkeys. That's about it for this one, unless I have some more findings after I recharge.